these, supposed low price chains, I make sure I'm under them. So anybody that's rushing to Decatur or other towns to buy commodity items like flour and sugar and milk and eggs and things that matter are fooling themselves. We are cheaper or as cheap on all the items that matter, and I make sure of that.
And as Dave always says,
hope to see you soon.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. The DeWitt County Board will hear from another solar developer, this time just north of the city limits of Clinton. Board Chair Joe Whitty indicates the hearing is set for late April. The county took over the hearing process last year instead of the applications going through the Regional Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals before coming to the county board.
Well, we did receive an application or an email from our zoning administrator that she received a new application. It was North Yards Solar LLC, I believe. This would be going through the hearing process. I want to say it was April, we got a calendar up here, April 29th, Wednesday, April 29th, 6 p.m. It's a relatively small solar development on the north side of Clinton off of Business 51. I haven't had a chance. I just picked up my packet last night, so I browsed through that last night to see kind of where this development will be, and I noticed that there is an agreement with Clinton. So they've gone through Clinton because it is within a mile and a half. They've got an agreement with Clinton. So our hearing date is now set. Now it's for the next month and a half. We get to dig through that binder and make sure that it does meet other requirements of the state and of our ordinance, and we'll have that hearing in April.
Whitty reminds and stresses that any input the community has on the application must be heard at that hearing. The board can only consider evidence for the application in that hearing.
Anybody who has comments pro or opposed to that development, the time to make your voice heard is at that hearing. We can consider everything in the application, but anything that the board should consider, don't send it to us through email or put it on social media. Come to the board meeting, share your evidence at that time. Come to the hearing, and that's what we will be basing our decision on. Is the application. The applicant will defend their application at that time, and any other comments, evidence from the public. That's really the place to make your presentation to the board.
Additionally, at last Thursday night's DeWitt County Board meeting, the board approved text amendment changes to the county's wind and solar ordinances. Whitty indicates this was simply an action to bring the county's code in line with the state of Illinois.
Two text amendments, actually. There's one for wind and for solar.
Okay.
And those we discussed a couple months ago that land use was given permission from the board to go ahead and make any adjustments to our ordinances based on the recent state legislation that was passed regarding renewable energy. One of the things that we've got to do whenever the state comes out with adjustments to the renewable energy language in our state statute, we've got to make sure that our ordinance is not more restrictive. And so there were a few things that, nothing significant. I think the state did throw in some requirements regarding some caps on fees. You can charge X amount per megawatt, but not to exceed a certain amount. And we didn't necessarily have some of that language in our ordinance. So we tasked the land use with reviewing our wind and solar ordinance to make sure that any adjustments that need to comply with statute were applied. And then that's what those were last night, is getting our ordinances for wind and solar up to snuff, basically, with the state. Nothing significant. No, again, it's usually benefits more to the developers. In this case, I guess maybe some counties were putting some exorbitant fees on the applications and building permit process. So there were some caps, and we just didn't have that language, but I think our fees were pretty much in line.
The state of Illinois has largely stepped in to regulate the renewable energy code in Illinois, forcing counties to fall in line with its regulations. A new medical provider is in Clinton, set up in the Clinton Square. Morgan Massey is a nurse practitioner and owns Fairwinds Direct Care on the square in Clinton. After nearly a decade working for a larger provider, she told the Heart Media Group on the WHOW Morning Show Wednesday that she needed a fresh start after watching healthcare fail her and her patients.
Yeah, I mean, I've done obviously a ton of research. Leaving a steady paycheck and in a job, a career is very risky, scary. I've lost my passion with healthcare. I was becoming part of the problem of the system of just not being able to care for patients like I wanted. And that was taking a toll on me mentally and physically. I was getting very much more irritable, being just more short with patients. My compassion was decreasing because I was just having so much pressure outside of the office visit. So in the exam room with my patients, that's where my love was, sitting with my patients one-on-one, talking about their healthcare, listening to them, tell me about their grandkids or their children and their sports and their life in general, good, bad, and the ugly. That was where my passion was. And corporate healthcare did not allow me to spend the time there. Appointments are scheduled every 20 minutes. So by the time you get vital signs and, somebody else is doing all of that work, you're down to 10 to 15 minutes tops per patient. And that's not a lot of time when you're talking healthcare. So in this new model, my appointments are scheduled for an hour. I really get to dig down and we look at all of the patient's concerns. We look at whatever's bothering them, and we're able to bring in the personal part of it as well, because that's really what affects each individual's overall health.
Direct healthcare is a little different business model than what most Americans are used to. Massey explains there is a monthly fee. However, you can come to her as often as you need, and she stresses that one of the benefits of direct care is the immediate access to her.
I've been working in corporate healthcare for the last 10 years as a nurse practitioner, the last 8 as primary care provider. And in that time, I've really have found that there is a disconnect of how I feel like healthcare should be delivered to patients versus how the healthcare system allows me to deliver that care. So in all my frustrations, I have kind of did a lot of research and found a newer model called direct primary care. In this model, we take out a lot of the corporate oversight and insurance for the most part. So which is really what drives the demand on providers and the stress on patients. So with direct primary care, it is a monthly membership based. I charge $75 per patient, and that covers all of your care that I can give to you. So it includes office visits, physicals, procedures in the office. Anything I can do for you is covered with that amount. I kind of tell people it's like having me on retainer. You have a question, you call and text. The great part about this concept is it's direct. So there's no middleman. So when you call, text, email, Facebook message, whatever form of communication, you get me and nobody else. Eventually, I'd like to hire some help with some administrative stuff, but right now it's literally just me. So it's nice to be able to have that direct access. One of the biggest frustrations I've heard in the last 8 years and worsening in the last 3 to 5 is contact with the providers. So the call centers with corporate organizations, you're always talking to somebody different. You never get the same person. You get delays in responses, delays in scheduling.
Yeah.
So, you wake up and you're like, I have a sore throat. My kid had strep last week. I probably have it. So you call your primary care provider and they're like, oh, we don't have any appointments till 2 months out. So now you're going to urgent care. You're paying an extra fee to somebody you don't know and just being herded through the system. And so that's where I'm very different.
Massey can see patients for most any issue you may be having aside from emergencies. Many may wonder about Medicare, but she indicates she can see some Medicare patients as the federal government works out some of the issues with that system.
Medicare patients are different from a legal standpoint. So As of right now, I cannot accept Medicare patients as direct primary care memberships. So they can't pay the monthly membership. However, I can bill Medicare Part B for services. So that would be billed just like it would with anybody else. It would be per visit.
Sure.
However, being independent, I'm going to limit those number of Medicare patients so that that way I can still deliver the same access to care as I do my membership patients.
Massey indicates for now she can only see adults but hopes to see children soon. Additionally, she points out starting January 1st, you can write off her monthly fees on your taxes. For more information, visit fairwindsdirectcare.com, find the practice on Facebook, or call 309-682-0374. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Hey, it's Shane from Highway 51 Exchange, your mower and equipment service pros just south of Clinton. Click our banner ad on DeWittDailyNews.com or give us a call to schedule your free pickup and delivery today. Highway 51 Exchange.
Longview Community Bank is now open in Clinton, investing in rural Illinois. I'm Vice President Nate Sams. Stop by for a visit or to find out how we provide real local banking. Click our banner ad at the top of the local news page on DeWittDailyNews.com.
Hey everyone, Paul Scarron here, CEO of Warner Hospital. Spring in Central Illinois is beautiful, unless allergies are slowing you down. If you're dealing with sneezing, congestion, itchy eyes, or sinus pressure, our experienced providers at Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton are here to help. We offer fast, personalized treatment to get you breathing easier and feeling better. Don't let allergies take over your spring. Call or visit us today. Warner Hospital and Health Services, quality care right here, right now.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. Ryan Cunningham homered and Tolono Unity used a fast start to take down Clinton 7-2 in non-conference high school baseball action on Wednesday afternoon in Tolono. The Rockets scored 3 runs in the first inning and 3 more in the second to open up a 6-0 lead. They added a run in the 7th for its final tally on the day. The Maroons broke through in the 6th inning. Jack Manning tripled in Jackson Reynolds. Josh Bass followed with a double to score Manning to make it 7-2. Dane Eisenmenger struck out 9 across 5 2/3 innings of 2-run ball for Unity. Bass and Manning each finished 1 for 3 for Clinton. The Maroons are 3-2 overall. They travel to Ridgeview on Saturday morning. In a game heard on WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com, Monticello pounded out 4 home runs and a web gem by Meadow Miller to secure the win, giving Monticello a 7-6 win over Meridian in non-conference high school softball action on Wednesday in Monticello. With the bases loaded and the tying run on third and the go-ahead run at second, a foul ball along the third base dugout was snagged by a lunging Miller, and the Lady Sages held off a constant pressure by the Lady Hawks' pursuit of a comeback win. Monticello slugged a pair of 2-run home runs in the first inning. The first was Madison Highland's drive to left field, which popped out of the mitt of the Meridian left fielder and went over the fence, scoring Emma Lawhead, running for Cassidy Stoffel. A catch on the play would have ended the inning, but 2 batters later, Reese Steiger blasted a 2-run shot to left that scored Allie Widener and put Monticello in front 5-0. With 1 out in the second inning, Sadie Walsh blasted a homer to left field to make it 6-0 for Monticello. The Lady Hawks did not go quietly into that good night. With 2 outs in the third, back-to-back-to-back run-scoring hits cut the deficit to 6-3. Meridian added 2 more runs in the 5th to cut the deficit to 6-5. Monticello got its eventual game winner on a solo home run to right center field off the bat of Isabella Beery. Stoffel got the win for Monticello. She worked the first 4+ innings, starting the 5th inning before being lifted by Highland. Stoffel came back into the game for the 7th inning, working through a bases-loaded jam to preserve the win. No Monticello batter recorded multiple hits in the victory. Beery, Highland, and Steiger each drove in 2. The State Bank of Bement player of the game was Highland. Meridian suffered its first loss of the season to go to 3-1. Monticello improved to 5-2. They will host Decatur Eisenhower on Friday. Normal Community used a balanced offensive attack to gradually pull away from North Little Rock, Arkansas for an 8-3 win in the first of 2 games on the final day of its annual spring break trip to Alabama in high school baseball action on Wednesday. Lucas Beatty drove in 3 runs. UIC commit Max Heineman doubled and was 2 for 4 as the Ironmen pounded out 10 hits and took advantage of 7 charging Wildcats errors. In the second game, Beckett Weber went yard and the Ironmen exploded for a 14-4 win over Prattville, Alabama in high school baseball action. Weber's solo shot in the second put the Ironmen up 1-0. After falling behind 4-1, Heineman started the scoring in a 7-run third inning with a 2-run double to make it 4-3. Then Gavin Swartz tied the game with a run-scoring single. Normal Community went ahead for good when Weber brought home Swartz and Drew Stevens with a 2-run single. Andrew Nauer broke the game open with the 4th inning with a 3-run double to make the score 13-4. Gavin Michaels was 3 for 4. Nauer finished with 5 RBIs while Weber had 4 runs batted in. After losing 2 games in all of the spring of 2025, Normal Community is 5-2 in the early season of 2026. They return to the 309 and take on Yorkville next Thursday. Johnny Kinziger had 16 points in Illinois State's 61-55 win against Dayton on Wednesday in the NIT quarterfinals. Kinziger shot 5 for 9, 4 for 7 from three-point range, and 2 of 3 from the free throw line for the Redbirds, who improved to 23-12 and move on to the semifinals. Chase Walker added 13 points and 10 rebounds. Ty Pence finished 5 of 9 from the field to finish with 12 points. Bryce Hurd finished with 12 points for the Flyers, who finished the season 25-12. Jordan Durkak added 11 points and 6 rebounds, and Emil Leetang had 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Kinziger put up 11 points in the first half for Illinois State, which led 33-23 at the break. Illinois State used a 9-0 run in the second half to build up a 19-point lead at 49-30 with 12 minutes and 31 seconds left. Joel Embiid scored 35 points in his return to the lineup from injury. Paul George had 28 points in his first game since serving a 25-game suspension for violating the NBA's drug policy. And the Philadelphia 76ers rolled to a 157-137 victory over the Chicago Bulls on Wednesday night. Josh Giddey scored 23 points to lead the Bulls. Embiid, the 2023 MVP, made 6 of 9 shots from the first period, including all 3 of his three-point tries. He had 23 points in the first half to help Philadelphia take a 71-52 halftime lead. George missed 8 of 10 field goals in the opening half and had 5 points, but scored 23 points in the second half. VJ Edgecombe added 22 points for the 76ers. The Bulls are at Oklahoma City on Friday, while the 76ers are at Charlotte on Saturday. In scores from around the NBA last night, the Atlanta Hawks defeated the Detroit Pistons 130-129 in overtime, while the LA Lakers beat the Indiana Pacers 137-130. The Miami Heat took down the Cleveland Cavaliers 120-103, while the Boston Celtics beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 119-109. The San Antonio Spurs routed the Memphis Grizzlies 123-98, while the Washington Wizards beat the Utah Jazz 133-110. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Houston Rockets 110-108 in overtime, while the Golden State Warriors beat the Brooklyn Nets 109-106. The Denver Nuggets beat the Dallas Mavericks 142-135, and the Portland Trail Blazers romped the Milwaukee Bucks 130-99. The Los Angeles Clippers beat the Toronto Raptors 119-94. In scores from the NHL last night, the Boston Bruins beat the Buffalo Sabres 4-3 in overtime, while the Toronto Maple Leafs beat the New York Rangers 4-3 in regulation. The MLB got things underway yesterday with the New York Yankees beating the San Francisco Giants 7-0. Plenty more games to come in opening season action today. The Pittsburgh Pirates are at the New York Mets at 12:15 p.m. today, while the Milwaukee Brewers will host the Chicago White Sox at 1:10 p.m. The Chicago Cubs will play host to the Washington Nationals at 1:20 p.m. today, while the Minnesota Twins go to the Baltimore Orioles at 2:05 p.m. today. At 3:10 p.m., the Boston Red Sox are traveling to the Cincinnati Reds. Also at 3:10 p.m. today, the San Diego Padres hosting the Detroit Tigers. At 3:10 p.m. today, the Los Angeles Angels will travel to the Houston Astros, while the St. Louis Cardinals will play host to the Tampa Bay Rays at 3:15 p.m. Also at 3:15 p.m., the Texas Rangers go to Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. At 7:30 p.m. tonight, the Los Angeles Dodgers will host the Arizona Diamondbacks. And at 9:10 p.m. this evening, the Cleveland Guardians will head west to the Seattle Mariners. The NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 picks back up today with the number 11 seed Texas taking on 2 seed Purdue at 6:10 p.m., while number 9 seed Iowa will play 4th seeded Nebraska at 6:30. At 8:45 p.m., 4th seed Arkansas will play top seeded Arizona, while at 9:05 p.m., 3 seed Illinois will take on 2 seed Houston. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is Janice Peterson, Executive Director of the Clinton Area Chamber of Commerce. Mark your calendar now for this year's Business Expo, Thursday, March 26th from 4 till 6:30 at the Clinton Junior High School. Booths will be set up in the junior high gym with local businesses to visit. The free shred truck is back, along with the Easter Bunny, face painting, and more. There's something here for everyone. Join us at the Chamber's Business Expo at Clinton Junior High School on Thursday, March 26th. Find out more at clintonilchamber.com/.